Hello and welcome to the Tifo Football podcast. I'm Joe Devine, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Jacob Whitehead.
Hello, that's a lot of energy. I enjoyed that.
Yeah, it comes out of nowhere, doesn't it?
Just what a professional.
It's not real. Also, Jon Mackenzie.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going okay.
Lovely to see you.
Lovely to see you too.
And Reuben Pinder's here.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, good.
Fantastic.
Good to be back.
Also, Steve's here.
Hello.
Yeah, you weren't ready for that, Steve,
No.
were you? You had to move your mic
You
down.
mix it up. Sometimes you don't acknowledge I exist. and
Steve
sometimes-
doesn't have a microphone like this one if you're watching, which is just a normal microphone. He's got one that's attached to his own head because
like an air traffic controller.
he arrives with it. He wears it to work on the train. Anyway, what did we talk about today? Well, what would Sun Tzu think about England's World Cup qualifying campaign? We did that. I don't know if we ever found out what Sun Tzu would think about it, but we certainly did a lot of Sun Tzu quotes. Which strikers look like they are Which strikers look like they are to the manor born? What does that mean,
Jacob
Steve?
said to the manor born in the upcoming show.
Did you?
In terms of strikers who just come 18 ready, good to go. And I just found it very fun.
To the manor
turn of
born. What does
phrase.
that mean? What does that mean?
Oven cooked.
Oh. It's Boris Johnson's oven cooked. To the manor born. Does it mean they're ready to
many
be in
British
charge of the
references in
manor?
this episode.
Yeah, just sort of had,
It's a nice idiom.
Yeah.
I've not heard that before.
Surely it's an arga if it's in a manor. In terms of, arga cooked rather than...
To the manor born means someone
they
is
got-
naturally suited or accustomed to a particular way of life or behaviour as though it were from birth.
And is the implication being that they're straight out the womb, they're like prepped
Premier League
for-
striker, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, it's to the manor. Manner.
Is it?
Not to the manor.
Not the house.
I assumed it was to the manor because I'm English, and so therefore I think, I was like, it's
just
a
used
sense
to
of
life in a
servitude.
tuxedo.
Well, I'm used to. I'm saying, please, Mr. Manor, please, to the manor born. I also say I'm Irish in this episode as well, so we'll
Quite a lot,
get
yeah.
to that a little bit later. Okay, there we go, to the manor born. Now, what else did we say? Are medical records sufficient for a passport application? Well, we don't know the true answer because it was for other reasons that I didn't get my Irish passport. How long can a mocking African grey parrot live for? Turns out a surprisingly long time. Stick around to find that out. There's the separation game, of course. There's the Newcastle are in crisis game. Less of a game, more of a chat. Also, we go to Lake Como to hear about the work that Cesc Fabregas is doing there. And we don't actually go anywhere. We just talk about it here. And finally, we play Points Are Bad. And it's been a good fun episode, hasn't it?
Yeah, finally
Yeah.
got to talk about England.
That's true.
I enjoyed that.
A little too long, if you ask me.
Not long enough for me.
We'll see what survives the edit. But, great job that these days Spotify are artificially, intelligently generating chapters, aren't they?
They are.
So you can skip the whole bit on England. Yeah? There we go.
They change as well. They do one thing and then they iterate as the episode as they've understood it more. So
Do they?
quite often, this bit of the show that you'll be listening to or watching now is called banter.
Right. Oh, God.
I know.
So will we get a parrot section?
Maybe I think we probably
Highly
will.
likely. Yeah.
Let's find out this week.
Hmm.
Okay, well, there you go. Well, where else to begin, of course? I can think of so many places than with England, because it was an international break. Reuben looks so happy. We did a little bit of England talk the other day with JPB while
Yeah.
you were away. I thought that was tremendous.
And made a point of saying that you were doing it because I wasn't there.
I mean, I found it deeply amusing. New listeners might not realise, but Reuben's always begging to talk about England on this podcast, and we generally don't allow it outside of major international tournaments.
We say it
because-
has to stick to football. Don't we?
Yeah, we have
Not
to stick
again,
to-
Reuben.
to football. But of course, today it sort of does make a bit more sense. We're going to briefly touch on some international stuff, simply because England have now qualified for the world, right, Steve here, I think he means World Cup, by winning all 8 of their qualifying games, kind of incredibly, or not, depending on your perspective, scoring 22 goals and not conceding any. The only game they've lost under Thomas Tuchel so far was their 3-1 friendly defeat to Senegal in June. So when we had JPB here the other day, did you listen to that episode? I already can't remember the 3 things he told me I should remember. I asked him, if I haven't watched any Tuchel games, what's 3 things I should know about this England team? One of them, I think, was that there was a number 10 issue, right? That there's like a bunch of different players in number 10. Do you remember what the others were?
I
One was
don't
midfield.
actually.
Wasn't one midfield? Or was that
Yeah.
a 10 issue?
Left back is wide open.
Left back's wide. I don't think. Was that a whole?
That was
that
the
one
third
of the 3 points?
Yeah.
That
Well-
left back's wide open.
Yeah.
Well, Jack then
No
went,
wonder I forgot that. That's
Jack then went on to write a piece about the positions that were locked down and the positions that were still kind of up for debate.
Oh, right. And what did he say?
I mean, even within that, there was debate about which ones were locked down and which ones weren't.
Yeah, I don't think Mark Gay's really locked down, to be honest, Reuben. What do you think about that?
I prefer not to speak. No, so yeah, I mean, if you need catching up on that, then Elliot Anderson and Declan Rice are the
Elliot Anderson, that was point number one.
That was the midfield one.
Elliot Anderson is an England player now.
Marcus Rashford looks like first choice left winger now.
Yeah, we're going to come and talk about him in a minute.
And then there's the number 10 conundrum, which I find quite interesting because it feels inevitable that Jude Bellingham will start the World Cup, right?
I don't know.
You would think so from his. I mean, he played quite well this weekend, I thought, but his profile of player. It all just feels like even if he's going to play Morgan Rogers in a few games and maybe he'll use Foden as a 10 or whatever, it will just be Bellingham who starts playing, which makes you think, is it kind of pointless to toy around with the other options in the build-up? But I think it's an interesting man management play from Tuchel to not start Bellingham in every game, take him off towards the end of games, even if in the World Cup he's going to be like the main man and play more, start more, barely ever come off.
Yeah,
because I think it's Tuchel when he took the job, he kind of made a point of saying that in the Euros, England were too focused on shoehorning all the best players into the team, which is something Southgate hadn't actually done really before that tournament, and then kind of buckled to the clamour for all of these like star players. And Tuchel doesn't want to do that, which is why Foden might be on the bench, which is why Bellingham might be on the bench. And I think it's a man management play to kind of send a message to everyone meaning I don't really care what your media profile is or even necessarily your club form. I will play the players who follow my instructions and suit this system best. And that's why Rodgers, I think, was playing centrally over players like even Foden or Eze, because he was dovetailing with Kane nicely. That he was the profile of player that worked well to run beyond Kane, to press forward with him when they didn't have the ball. And I think Tuchel's just trying to get the message in Bellingham's head that you are going to have to follow some instructions that might go against your instinct if you want to start as a number 10. And I think it will probably work. He said that Jude didn't like coming off in the Albania game, but there seemed to be a lot of focus on whether or not Jude Bellingham celebrated Kane's second goal, which I think is overblown. I think he went over to congratulate Rashford on the cross and then went over to celebrate with Kane and then came off and maybe had a chat with the manager, because Jude Bellingham doesn't like to be substituted off. It's not a big deal, I don't think.
Well, I don't know what you guys think, but in terms of that number 10 spot, I assume that Jude Bellingham is the best match anyway, given that he's going to be playing behind Kane, who seems to be playing behind whoever is in the number 10 position, right? So,
I mean, I read a quote somewhere from the last week where Tuchel was
from
saying...
Sun Tzu, was it?
Yeah, it was The Art of War, yeah. And it's like, if you have
Jude Bellingham,
if you have a glot of 10s,
yeah,
then always pick Jude Bellingham.
But Art of War is a very Jude Bellingham book to have on his bedside table, do we not think as well? Like, you can imagine him taking 3 little lessons when putting it on Instagram.
That's true. And then going on the Diary of a CEO podcast in 10 years' time. Is that too rude? Maybe it is. Good Lord.
I don't think so.
No.
But the quote that I read was actually just a quote from Thomas Tuchel, where I think he said they're considering Foden as one of the 8 slots now because of the way that he's been playing this season. But Tuchel definitely has a bit of a headache because a lot of those players are now coming into form in a way that they haven't really been there for a few.
Well, he made
seasons.
it clear that Foden wouldn't be considered as a wide option, which is what he did at the Euros, obviously, and then ended up moving into the 10 position. Bellingham got shoved out wide because there was no width coming from left back. So Foden came on at Wembley and played more like a number 9, I think, and assisted the second Eze goal.
Is that the first game?
Yeah,
the Serbia game.
Yeah. So I think it's just getting used to fans seeing some of these brilliant players on the bench, which is inevitable when you only have 11 slots. It was more difficult with the Euros because Foden was Player of the Year in that City team. So
I don't want to think of myself as a wide option either. Mm-hmm. So I've started to eat less cheese.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You were in Greece over the weekend. Did you watch any of the England games from overseas?
I watched who did they play in the first game? Serbia.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I watched the Serbia game from overseas. I quite liked. I don't mind international friendlies because I quite like it at this point before the tournament where we're getting quite close, where they do get to experiment a bit.
Sure.
I quite enjoyed the Foden playing as a kind of false nine.
They're both qualifiers,
thing
by the
they're
way.
doing. Yeah.
But
they'd already qualified, right? Yeah.
I think given that they won every game and didn't concede, I think it's okay to call them friendlies.
Yeah.
Probably.
Technically, I'm technically wrong, spiritually right.
Yeah.
So go for that.
You know me, though, pedant.
I thought... I just think it's quite interesting that we've been talking about number 10 for 5-10 minutes, and after the last Euros final, not mentioned Cole Palmer once. There are reasons for that, but the
What do you
fact
think
that
they
he's not
are?
even been... He's not been in as good a form for Chelsea, but it's still clearly a very good number 10.
Yeah, sure.
I think there's the fact that he can play out wide, even though it's not the best thing, which sort of means you're like, when you talk about number 10, you can shove him out. He's I think, pulled out of a few squads as well with
He's been
more
very
minor
injured.
issues.
He's been very injured recently, so I guess that's the main reason we're not talking about him. But yeah, he will presumably be back by the time the World Cup is.
And if he's in the squad, I think everyone would have probably had him above Foden, probably in the England
certainly
hierarchy.
Last season, because it's all about the season that leads into the tournament, right? Like Foden had a bad Euros after his best season ever, and then had quite a bad season last season by his own standards. And leading into that Euros, Palmer was also brilliant for Chelsea, and then last season was maybe less brilliant. So.
Well, also I will say, like, speaking of the it all being about the season just before the tournament, as opposed to any prior to that, Marcus Rashford, you said already, he appears to have locked down that left-hand side spot. He's also playing terrifically well in Barcelona, John. I haven't watched him at all. I'm sort of pleased and surprised to hear this.
Yeah, he's been quietly plugging away at Barcelona and being very productive. So topping the table for the assists per 90 minutes in La Liga. And
Rafinha was injured, right?
Rafinha's injured, so that's why he's playing. But it's one of those. I did a short last week on. I've done a short on Rashford this week. I did a short on Alejandro Garnacho last week, and with both of these players, it's very much a case of you stick them into systems where you're sustainably and repetitively getting them into situations where they can produce and they become more productive. And I think that's definitely what we're seeing from Rashford. But the point that I've made in the short that I put out this morning is that his productivity is higher now than it's ever been at any point in his career. But that productivity rise started last season when he was at Villa. And actually the metric which I think is the most telling about why that might have happened is touches in the final third, because they jumped up by about 10 touches per 90 last season at Villa, and then another 10 with Barcelona.
Is that just because he's going to play for teams that have the ball more in the opposition third?
Yeah, right. So both of them, I guess. I mean, Villa may be slightly different, but certainly with Barcelona, what you're seeing is they dominate possession. They have around 60, it's upwards of 65% possessions, closer to 70, 67, I think, this season on average. It's a lot of possession for a team to have. The received wisdom is that Rashford is a player who's good in transition, which is kind of interesting because actually his most productive 2 sessions.
Steve's trying to log into something on the big screen.
I've got it. Don't worry about it.
Don't worry, viewer. Nothing happened here.
Especially not listener. Listener, nothing happened.
No, definitely not listener.
Just Googling English left backs.
What's interesting about the fact that he's now playing for this Barcelona system where they're actually trying to pin opponents back a lot of the time and have sort of relatively settled possession in the final third is that it doesn't really seem to suit what you would think that Rashford is good at.
No, I always think of him as running away on the break,
and he's still good at that, obviously. But I think this maybe like complexifies that narrative and suggests that actually if you put him in these situations where he's got good players around him, he's interacting and associating really well with someone like Alejandro Balde.
Right.
They're generating lots of sort of positional advantages out on the wide areas that allow him to get into situations where he can either hit the byline and cross or drive directly to the box as well. But they also do have that ability to play in transition as well under Hansi Flick too. So it's just, I guess the moral of the story is if you get a player like Rashford and give him the ball more often, he will be more productive. So the situation is that you just need to find repeatable structural situations where I think these players like Rashford, Garnacho actually are quite productive, even if they don't necessarily look like they're incredible players necessarily. I think, it's unfair to say that because I'm not trying to draw a distinction between system players and then individual players. But I think the uptick comes from Garnacho and Rashford because they are being put into scenarios where they can thrive.
I think it could also be quite useful for England that if Rashford is facing quite a lot of deep blocks this year, which, say, a player like Anthony Gordon at Newcastle might not be facing so many of. In international football, you're a lot more likely, especially in the group games, to be facing those sorts of defences, and having a player who's more capable of breaking that down is only going to be useful.
Yeah, that's a really good
Rashford
point.
did get an assist yesterday.
Yeah, with a great cross against the deep block, right?
Yeah.
So it shows off that technique. I also think it's nice to have different options in the wide areas. Like I did a short in the last international break about the composition of England's attack and how, as I've said before, like when you squeeze too many kind of number 10 adjacent players into that area, it limits what Kane does, because obviously he wants to enter that area as well. So if your wingers are more direct, running behind players like Rashford, even, or like can do a bit of everything like that, then having Rashford and Saka as your main ones suits Kane really well. And then if you need a different option, you have like Tuchel seems to really like Eze on the left as a bit more of like a kind of creative 10 type. And then maybe, like we said earlier, you have Palmer as backup on the right. But that mix of profiles is really important at international level.
Well, there we go. I mean, the big story of the weekend, we should say, wasn't England. For many people, it was Ireland, who have almost inexplicably, very surprisingly, reached the World Cup playoffs. They booked their place in the playoffs for the World Cup in the dying minutes, right, Steve, of their Group F campaign after starting, right, Steve, the qualification period with a draw and 2 defeats. Ireland won 3 games in a row to get into the playoffs at Hungary's expense. I mean, I think it's worth saying also it was Thursday, right? They beat Portugal 3-0. 2-0 with a Cristiano Ronaldo red card. And then Troy Parrott, who scored 5 goals across these 2 games, AZ Alkmaar striker, he's got a hat-trick against Hungary, the third one being in the final minute of the game. The scenes are kind of amazing. The Irish commentary on ITE is very exciting as well. Can we
dwell on Parrott's head loss after the goal for a moment? Because it is one of the best... I don't know what to do, I'm just excited. Like he sort of pushes everyone away from him, slides down, falls on his back and just sort of screams at the air for a while and gets fully bundled on.
He's already crying before he goes down. It's amazing.
So good.
Yeah.
It's really, I mean, in his post-match interview as well, my favourite comment was him saying, "I haven't cried in years," which I don't know if you felt, and then looking around and pointing at other people, that they're crying as well. They're also crying. I totally get it. I mean, I think,
as a proud Irishman,
of course, John's teasing me because he says I say I'm from several. All I can say is I'm of Irish blood. What was it? I don't know. He didn't say anything about something got cut. Something got cut. Something terrible. That would have definitely got us sued for libel.
Yeah, that was libel.
That was libelous for sure.
Bang on.
Anyway, Troy Parrott, it wasn't about him. Troy Parrott, the AZ Alkmaar striker, he's also scored, it's worth saying, 13 goals in 14 games across all competitions for AZ this season. He's only 23. Is he maybe, I ask to the table, whoever wishes to answer this, is he maybe a good example of a player that sometimes needs a little bit more experience and flourishes a little later, a la Harry Kane?
This feels like an Arsenal fan type question, this, right?
Is he from Arsenal?
No, he was at Spurs, you see.
Oh.
And I guess it's just sort of a little bit of a dig at the fact that he wasn't.
So you read that into what Steve says?
Yeah, maybe.
So much like Kane, he had a few loans from Spurs.
Right.
And then
just...
Is he still... He's on loan?
No, he's an RZ player now.
No.
He actually played at Selhurst Park recently in the Conference League. I didn't notice until yesterday when I Googled where he was playing. I was like, I saw him play like a month ago.
That's not a great sign.
No.
I'm kind of wondering, traditionally it'd be centre-backs who'd sort of get better with age, they develop slightly later, and strikers often come in like a comet fully formed. Yeah. Whereas it does feel like that's slightly changing in the sense you've had quite a few 18, 19-year-old centre-backs who've come in and instantly looked to the manner born.
Yeah.
And a few strikers in recent years who have sort of it's taken until their mid-20s really for them to flourish. I mean, like...
That's a good point. Who are the best examples of that?
Dean Howson.
Would Mateta be one?
Oh, you're talking about strikers.
Yeah, well, both ends of the pitch, they're good examples. Yeah, Mateta needed the right system, the right manager to, like... so much... Is it a cliche or is it true that so much about being a striker is like confidence? And I can't remember who I heard say this, but it's
Sun Tzu. It was Sun Tzu.
About like being able to like have a bad game and miss a few chances and not let it ruin your next one takes a few years to adapt to.
Especially
that definitely is Sun Tzu. Yeah.
Especially if you're not a striker who relies on, I guess, your physical gifts to make chances. If you're somebody who's like a Kane to go back to, who's working space. That's going to come with time. And then I guess it means the flip side is if you do develop late, because you aren't relying on those physical gifts, you can probably play later into your 30s. So your sort of window of success is probably...
The interesting counterexample here is Evan Ferguson, right, who probably would have been playing had he been available in this game rather than Troy Parrott. But he's an example of a player who again, like a young striker who came through and like he lost his confidence despite the fact that he'd had plenty of time to develop. But
on Jacob's point, he was more of a physical presence as a young player, right? So like he technically very good. He did score some really nice goals for Brighton, but that was his upside at young age, right?
Yeah. I was also of quite a physical presence as a child, and so I've been trying to eat a little bit less cheese. Anyway, what terrific news for Ireland!
Goodness.
They lost to Armenia in September and beat Portugal and Hungary in this.
It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing, isn't it? When was the last time Ireland were in a World Cup?
2002.
Was it 2002?
Saipan.
Right. Yeah. My wife, whose family are Irish. She doesn't like directly claim to be Irish, although her sister. I mean, she does have an Irish passport.
Does she have a stronger claim to Ireland than you?
Are you both technically citizens of Ireland, or could be?
I mean, I don't have a passport, but
Joe
I
is
could
a
get
citizen
one.
of
I
the
get one
universe.
anytime I want.
Same, yeah.
A child of the world is how I would describe Joe.
Did I ever tell you about my Irish passport story? I did try to apply not long after Brexit. And
that's why you voted leave, was because it didn't matter.
And I'm not very good at admin, so they ask you, I send all these things. At the time also, I was living with my then girlfriend, now wife. I don't think I was like registered to live there. I didn't have any proof of address. It was all a big mess. Do you want to be
committing this to a public?
Who cares? It's in the past. The point is, I when they asked me for proof of address, I didn't have any because I just sort of moved in with her. And I wasn't on any of the bills or anything. I was just kind of, paying her the money. So the only thing I had was a letter from the hospital that was was the results of a colonoscopy that I had. And I thought, well, I mean, it's got my address on it, It does also have the descriptions of the inside of my bowel. But I thought,
a sympathy vote.
Yeah, I thought, wow, they'll like that, the Irish consulate and the embassy sent it to them, and they sent it back and said, oh, we need some more. And then they said the next day they were like, oh, you've run out of time.
You need some more.
And they also said, and you should start eating less cheese.
They said, increase the fibre, definitely less dairy.
It's not the idea that they saw your colonoscopy reports.
We don't want this guy.
We need more. We need more information, please.
We need to know more about this colon.
Anyway, it's not an Irish colon.
Always going to struggle under a points-based system without.
Exactly. So in the end, I thought,
that's like the U version of like not getting a work permit, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You failed the GBE regulations.
So I'll go back another time. Anyway, I really am Irish. I am really Irish. I really am. And my wife is as well. What am I talking? Oh, yes. She thinks that Ireland, I said to her last night, Ireland might be in the World Cup. And she said, they're not normally. And I said, have you seen them in the World Cup recently? She said, I don't know. Oh, maybe it was in 2000. I said, yeah, I think that was probably the last time.
They were quite unlucky not to do much better in that tournament, weren't they? Or
that Roy Keane stuff just lingers for so long. Everyone talks about it the whole time.
But didn't they beat Spain or Germany or someone?
I love that we're looking at the youngest member of the table
to
answer these questions for us. What did you say, Steve?
Yeah, I have a memory of Robbie Keane scoring against Germany or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Love to hear more about that memory.
It might not be true. I can't remember. Yeah.
Anyway, congratulations to my people in Ireland, the people I feel a deep belonging to with.
There's a draw on Thursday for who they will meet in the playoffs.
It's on Thursday, is it? Oh, great. How exciting. That's very exciting.
And that'll be played in March.
Who could it be? Do we know yet?
I'm not sure.
There's still a few to be settled.
Yeah, because there's some games today/tomorrow. So
right. Okay, well, that'll be an absolutely huge game. We'll all have to watch that one. Norway's men have also reached their first World Cup since 1998. Haaland and Ødegaard will both be there. That's sort of...
It's crazy that they've not been to a tournament.
Do you know how many goals Haaland has scored in qualifying?
Can I guess?
Yeah.
Just in this qualifying?
Yeah.
So that's how many games have there been? 6 games?
I think it's 6 games.
Okay, based on the maths I'm doing in my head,
games.
8 games.
England have won all 8.
Some groups are different sizes.
Of course.
Okay, well, get the answer up, Reuben, for me, and then okay, saying it's 6 games, 8 games. Let's call it 7. Is the answer 111?
16.
16,
which is twice as many as Harry Kane.
That's too many. I mean, Steve wrote in the. I skipped over it, but he wrote in the doc here, is Harry Kane the best striker in the world right now? I think our answer is no. Oh,
yes. They're both.
They're all good. Everyone's
different
good.
Strikers for different needs.
Anyway, well done to Norway. and to Ireland, and indeed to every country participating in the World Cup qualification.
All of which you belong to.
All of which I belong to. I could get a passport of any of your countries in a second. And if you'd like to see more of my medical records, just reach out. Greece, I'm looking at you. You want to see my...
Greece.
Can we have a quick shout out to the mighty footballing nation of Belarus, who kept Scotland's chances of qualifying automatically alive.
Oh, what happened here? I didn't follow this story at all.
So Greece needed to beat Greece to keep
Greece needed to beat Greece.
Needed to beat Greece.
Scotland.
That's another Sun Tzu quote right there.
Scotland needed to beat Greece to keep their chances of overtaking Denmark alive.
Right.
They went 3-0 down to Greece, pulled it up to 3-2, still lost. But then Denmark, after leading against Belarus, got pegged back by Belarus. So now it's winner takes all at, I presume, Hampton Park.
Wow.
This
how
week,
exciting.
and if Scotland win, they go straight through.
Okay.
I just thought you might be claiming allegiance to them, so I just give you all of the information.
Scotland is the only country in the UK that I don't claim allegiance to.
Celtic cousins, though.
I did live
Mr.
in
Mackenzie?
Wales for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I will.
Yeah,
for sure. We've got it all covered.
John supports Scotland, not because he was born there or has it. No, not because he's English and he was born in England and his parents are English, but he's just chosen to support Scotland.
He's doing this to JJ Ball.
Well, it's because JJ's born in England.
Scottish.
No, I mean, it's tenuous. He's quite English. He's an English Scot.
He's a tenuous Scot, I'd say. I'd say it to his face as well if he was here. I'd say it right to his face. Now, that's international football. That's all done. Congratulations to everyone involved. I hope they all have a terrific rest of the year. Now, let's talk about Newcastle, who we think might be in a little bit of crisis before the international
high
break.
tone there from you.
Well, it's because I was uncertain of the crisis. I'm hoping, I wonder,
sting.
Is there a crisis? We're going to find out. They did, of course, lose to West Ham United and Brentford in the Premier League just before the international break. Defeat away to Brentford made it 9 away games without a win for Newcastle, which is kind of crazy. That run of results also included a win over Athletic Bilbao in the Champions League at home. So are the Magpies just focusing on the shiny things, right Steve? Oh,
yeah.
good Lord. Let's start here. Jacob, are Newcastle in crisis, do you think?
Clever animals, Magpies. So I wouldn't put it.
We didn't talk about Parrots at all. We got through a whole section on Troy Parrott without mentioning Parrots.
It's a sensible Monday morning.
It is.
Do you know how many parakeets there are in England?
Yeah,
by the way?
in London.
In London, sorry.
Lots.
They're everywhere, aren't they? It's wild.
Do you know
Wait, parrot rather than parakeets?
Parakeets.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
Troy
Parakeets. Yeah.
That's his child.
That's when he's a poet.
When he's small.
My girlfriend owns a parrot.
Does she?
But not a parakeet.
Wow.
Not a parakeet.
Where does it live in the home?
So it lives at her parents' home, and it's quite a mocking parrot because it doesn't say words, but if you laugh, it just sort of laughs back at you. It's in a really mocking, sarcastic manner.
That sort of thing.
Yes, honestly, it's like a sort of pantomime dame kind of
Oh, that's horrible.
intonation.
That sounds
to
like
it.
a scary animal to have in the home.
Yeah,
What's it called?
Tinkerbell.
Oh. This story gets weirder. How old is the parrot?
Ooh, I think it's about 10 or 12 or so, but they're quite long-living parrots.
How long do they live?
I think they can live for like 30 years or so.
Let's find out how long do parrots live. Wow. So cockatoos live between 40 to 60 years, apparently.
That is a commitment. A cockatoo is for life, not just for Christmas.
Kakapo.
That's
60.
a dog, isn't it?
I don't know. And then a hyacinth macaw, that lives for 50 years. Wow, they live a lot longer than I
Sounds
thought.
like a music genre.
Well, Tink, as she's known to me, is an African grey, if there's any.
They're
How
quite
do you know
big,
so
those
much
on
about
that.
birds? In the sound check, you listed I was about to say genre, breed of owl. I didn't know there was more than one.
40 to 60 years the African grey parrots can live for.
Tinkerbell is with you for
Yeah, I'm actually now
Sometimes
realising
70 older.
Tink could enter my household.
It's true. if you end up marrying your girlfriend and staying together for a long time, I do think you might end up living with this
I
mocking
think you should
bird.
incorporate it into the wedding. I think you should walk down the aisle with a
I
parrot
do
on
like the
your
idea
shoulder.
of being of that sort of pirate.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
like,
You've got good pirate energy, I'd say.
yeah, I mean, only one of my eyes works, so I could lean into that
Really?
and have an eye patch. Actually, go to wearing an eye patch.
Which one doesn't work?
My left eye doesn't work.
At all, you can't see out of
Got
it.
like 10% vision. It's like super
wow.
blurry. It's like, like if you look out the corner of your eye,
Yeah.
it's just that all on one side.
Wow.
Yeah.
So John to you right now is just sort of a blur.
Yeah, just a blob.
That's a very specific seating choice by him there.
You've chosen the best seat.
Do you remember the story of the Spanish referee who was live on TV and then his parrot in the background started singing the Real Madrid anthem?
I do not remember that.
Yeah.
So funny.
What a great way to get caught out of a bias. Anyway,
You asked me about Newcastle.
I did. Are they
Yes.
in crisis?
They are a really confusing team because they have these matches where they're capable of matching anyone. Particularly, they always raise their game against the sort of top 6 or so in Europe, but then especially away against sort of, I say lesser opposition, but it's so equal now.
Yeah.
They really stink the place out. Like at West Ham, they were absolutely dreadful. I think a lot of it comes down to the midfield, who in a way are emblematic of that, where at their best is maybe some Carabao Cup final, they can just go toe-to-toe with anyone because they've got physicality, they're pretty technical. But I think because they are quite reliant on that, I guess, emotion in a way to get that physicality, they can't get themselves quite up to that level for every game, which means that can be pretty passive then the rest of the way. Like Liam Tharmer is an actual sort of technical version of this. We talked about them away from home defending with a flat 5 in midfield and defending zonally. And according to him, this means that they didn't pick up runners so well.
Right.
I also think the other factor is that the wingers are pretty hopelessly out of form.
Right.
And some of that, I guess, does come down to the individual. Others of that their first choice fullbacks haven't been fit in
That's a big one, I
Livramento
think.
and Hull, who may even I think they're possibly 2 other players who could come into the England reckoning if they do get back and get a run of games. But those factors combined, I think, means that they don't have that much creativity when their wingers aren't playing well, and they just can get played through when they sort of shouldn't be.
Is it Murphy starting mostly on the right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know why Elanga hasn't maybe played more?
No, he definitely started the season in possession of a shirt, and in some ways it really seemed as if he was the signing they needed in terms of a Gordon-style player who could run in behind on that side, who worked really hard out of possession. And generally Newcastle's signings under Howe have been pretty good. Like, they haven't had many failures.
Seemed like
all.
a perfect fit.
Yeah. And I'd say it's not been so much, I guess, execution issue. It's just he's not creating any chances, really. Like, it's just a bit of a... Just a bit of a black spot. Yeah. And so there is Howe's, I think, best gift as a manager is his player development, rather than necessarily like tactical setup or in-game, And so time on the training pitch does help that. But this is the problem of when they're playing in Europe, you just reduce those sorts of training days where you do really improve that, and you're going more half week to half week and struggling to actually allow these players to break through. But I would like to read something, to be honest, tactically on why he's failing to settle, because on paper it seemed great.
I think the switch to Voltemada from Isak is quite important in these games as well, because I think when they're away from home, they are much more passive. And the idea, I guess, is to be in that mid block to then have the space to attack into when you win the ball back. So not only is the mid block quite zonal, quite passive, and allowing a lot of space. They've played with the deepest defensive line that they've played with under Eddie Howe so far. So there's space to exploit between the lines. But also, if you're not winning the ball back very often, you need your then transition moments forward to be a bit more efficient.
Yes.
And I feel as though...
It's worth just adding in here that Newcastle only have 11 goals in the Premier League so far this season. Only Forest, Leeds United and Wolves have fewer as well. Yeah.
And I think that when you're in those situations where you're probably absorbing a lot more pressure defensively and you're not able to generate as many transition attacks, if your transition attacks are being fronted by a guy whose instinct is to drop deeper and be involved in link-up play and then arrive maybe later in some of these attacking moments, I think that's also part of the reason why your Anthony Gordons and your Jacob Murphys and your Elangas are maybe struggling a little bit in those moments, because it feels as though when I've watched Newcastle away from home this season, it feels like they're playing low block and counter and have forgotten the counterpart. So they're just basically doing a lot of low blocking. So they've got good defensive numbers, but like their attacking numbers are really poor because they're just not really giving themselves anything to go with.
If you imagine the difference between Livramento in transition, going forward from left back, and Dan Burn playing out of position at left back, launching a transition,
it's
I think that sort of shows for
what you were saying about having both of those fullbacks missing. It's like if Hall is missing, you can play Livramento at left back and like Trippier at right back is kind of fine. But
I think Trippier is arguably quite important to the way they play as well. I think especially in terms of like breaking down like lower blocks too. So I think he's not been available all season either. So they've been chopping and changing all over the place. They played Emma Kraft the other day as a right back, and when you're playing Kraft and Byrne as your fullbacks in a really transitional system, as you say, it's like you're not giving yourself any opportunity really to get the most.
Maybe Vissa's return to fitness will help, especially alleviate some of the goal scoring off Voltemada, and maybe they can switch to a 4-4-2 with Voltemada kind of dropping into more of a 10 role, which would then in knock-on effect allow them to rest a midfielder and things like that.
Because Voltemada has been very odd in the sense of he has been playing so well when he gets the ball, but doesn't get the ball very much at all. Like his touches in the box are so few and far between, but it's how much can he actually affect a game on a regular basis.
Well, coming up, they have some tough fixtures, it's worth saying. I mean, you did say at the beginning, Jacob, that sometimes they raise their game when they play against bigger teams. Hopefully they will do that, because this weekend they host Manchester City, then they're away to Marseille in the Champions League, then they are away to Everton, a team that have been in pretty good form so far this season. Then moving into December, home to Spurs, home to Burnley, away to Leverkusen, away to Sunderland, home to Fulham, and then home to Chelsea, away to Man United. There are a lot of tough games coming up. They're not sort of perfectly placed in the league. As a final question on Newcastle before we move on, when we sort of get to the end of the year, let's say the beginning of January, what position would they have to be in the Premier League for you to say, okay, this is definitely a crisis, or like to worry about their performances?
They can be quite streaky as a team. I think last season, in theory, what was a very difficult patch in January, February, they ended up going about, don't look this up, but it was 8 or 9 unbeaten, something like that. And so they do have.
I'm going to start using that as a caveat more often.
Don't look this up. It's sort of the vibe was. They went on a long unbeaten run when it should have been difficult, but then again that was without midweek games. So maybe when Champions League midweek games died down a bit, they'll improve. But yes, I think at the moment it's so tight, isn't it? From about 13th through to 5th or 6th or so.
Yeah.
And so...
Don't look this up, Joe.
Yeah, don't look that up either.
I am looking it up. I'm going to tell you, Newcastle are currently in 14th. They're on 12 points. But they are only 2 off West Ham, who are in 18th in the relegation zone. And having said that...
That's the wrong way.
Yeah,
what about go
making
upwards?
The point the other way.
Well, I mean, they're 5 off 10th.
Yeah.
The gap is much bigger the other way.
Yeah.
Like, the gap is starting to grow, I would
This
say.
is why you said don't look this up.
Yeah, but that's a good thing.
I say.
Yeah. Well, moving on now to a game where we do, as Jack Pitt-Brook found out to his ego chagrin, we do need to look up, otherwise we can't play. It's the separation game.
Yes, it is.
Reuben, do you want to take it away?
Sure thing. Let me just open my chat with Steve on WhatsApp, because I need to remember
Do you know how the
to pronounce
separation
this
game
guy's
works?
game. Name.
Is it a bit like the Wikipedia game, but for football?
Kind of. The separation game is this. Reuben is going to give you 2 players, and you have to find your way from one to the other through teammate links and teams.
Okay.
And the kind of more pedantic rules are that they have to have both played a game in the same season to count as teammates. No internationals. And we count the links, not the players that bookend it, as... Oh, okay. I got it in 3, or I got it in 4.
Yeah.
Whatever.
So it's fewest links rather than shortest time.
Yeah.
Got you.
So we are going from Dimitris Papadopoulos.
Oh. Wait, give me a second to spell that.
I spoke to him on the phone this week.
Did you? I did not know that,
That's
Jacob.
fun.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah.
Jacob,
I don't really know anything else about him, though.
Well, I hope you... What did you talk about?
Greece. Greece football stuff.
Right. Well...
Did he play for Burnley?
Don't know.
Well, you're allowed to use Wikipedia. So
you can use Wikipedia and Transfermarkt to find out.
Dimitris Papadopoulos to Troy Parrott.
To Troy Parrott, okay.
Dimitris Papadopoulos to Troy Parrott.
I like how we've gone from
Get it?
sort of
Parrott joke.
No, I got it. I like how we've gone from saying we were picking players who were like hot of the moment for some reason, and then we realised that made the game worse, and then we went back to picking random players, and that made the game better, and now we've gone back to picking players who are hot off the moment again.
The narrative must be obeyed.
You can't help yourself, Steve.
I'm allowed to use Transfermarkt before I get accused.
You're allowed to use the internet.
Oh,
go ahead.
That's nice.
It's still hard.
This is like when COVID cancelled my uni exams, and I was allowed to like use open book tests.
You were in uni during COVID?
Yeah.
Get out.
You can even use ChatGPT, but I would recommend
No.
I would recommend not doing that, because it actually is shit for this.
Yeah, I mean, I can't talk about birds and then sort of burn down the rainforest by using that.
Well, quite. Thank you.
We'll be
Think
back.
what happened to Tink.
We're going on a break now, and hopefully when we come back, Jacob's family bird will still be alive. We're back in the room. Reuben?
Yes. You claim to have done it, don't you?
I've done it in 4.
Okay. John, did you find a
I've done
route?
3. In a
Okay.
rare fit of productivity, I've done well.
But you you suggested earlier that you might be using a goalkeeper.
I'm using a goalkeeper, yeah.
Which is, of
So
course,
it's 1.5.
lame.
I'm
3.5.
I'm using the same team twice in a row.
That's also
with a
lame.
connector, which is
Yeah.
also lame. So it's 4.5.
Okay.
Really.
Jacob, I see you typing away there. Any
I'm
luck?
stuck in a hole of Geordie Classy and John Guidetti.
I don't even. How did you get there?
Geordie Classic, as in he played for Southampton in midfield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also,
Southampton's the key, though. You can do
Oh,
it through
and-
Southampton.
Oh, really?
That's what I did.
I haven't done
Guidetti
that.
from is Celta.
I've gone through Hull.
yeah, I'm interested in Celta.
You've gone through Hull.
Yeah, I've got.
Look,
To be
here
fair,
comes
through Hull.
my route is
Here comes
very
Hull down
interesting.
the motorway.
I went through the cultural capital of Europe, Hull. Here we go. I started with. I did something very unusual. I started at both ends and worked my way towards the middle instead of. But in my list here, I start with Troy Parrott, who was on loan at Preston North End for the 22-23 season, where he played alongside one of the greats, one of the Premier League greats, Robbie Brady, who of course was at Hull. I was hoping for a 3. I was hoping Robbie Brady and Andy Robertson would have been at Hull together. They weren't by about a year or 2. So I've had to use Curtis Davies as like a bridge between the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
Andy Robertson, of course, helps me through Liverpool to Dejan Lovren, who played at Zagreb with Dimitris Papadopoulos.
Okay, nice.
That's so
fun.
weird. That means I can reduce mine by 1.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because I've got Papadopoulos playing with Iago Aspas
Right.
Yeah.
at Celta, who played with Lovren at Liverpool.
Oh, no, yeah.
but
you
I can
just
now
take
go
it.
straight from Papadopoulos to Lovren.
They played together.
Lovren played with
Oh, the Southampton.
Paolo
route.
Gazzaniga, the goalkeeper, who then went to Spurs, and he was there when he played in the same season that Troy Parrott actually got appearances for Spurs.
1920.
Yeah.
Very
Wow.
good.
That's
Very
frustrating. I'd had Iago Aspas.
Yeah.
The Wikipedia page was open on that.
He is the key. I think Aspas was the key. I thought when you said Brady that you were going to go down the Burnley route.
How would I have got there through Burnley?
Well, did Papadopoulos not play for Burnley?
Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah.
But you'd have
Well, was
almost
that was like a
certainly-
14-year
Yeah,
gap.
he was
Oh,
there
there's
in
a
like
big gap.
2002, so
Right.
you'd probably have had to
I'm
cheat.
sure Scott Arfield was there forever,
You could
wasn't
do-
he?
well,
Yeah,
Brian Jensen, the goalkeeper, was there for ages, and he
good
was.
God.
That's the goalkeeper. I was like, oh, I could use him because
just use long-serving goalkeepers to go back through it, like really against the
time,
spirit of the game. The route that I had was Troy Parrott played with Harry Kane at Spurs. I'm trying to remember it now. I don't know where it's written down. Harry Kane plays with Serge Gnabry at Bayern.
Yeah.
He played with Felipe Coutinho at Bayern.
Oh.
And then you got
And
the Liverpool
Coutinho
ones.
played with Aspas at Liverpool, and then Aspas played with Papadopoulos at Celta.
I'd like to claim points for being the only person not to use Iago Aspas here. You know,
Yeah,
I think I've got at least
Well,
like a
technically, I
creative
didn't.
point.
Right, you helped me out there, so thanks.
Well, you know.
Your original one, though, John, did have Aspas.
Yeah, it was
in
Aspas
So I
and
think
Lovren.
on a technicality.
That's right. On the Aspas technicality.
I think,
you've
yeah,
been caught.
I won on a technicality and also not on a technicality. So, yeah.
Schrodinger's win. Anyway, there we go. That was the separation game. Thank you, Reuben.
Thank you.
Let's move on now. Well, we still have Jon Mackenzie here. You're only here for 4 more minutes, I think.
Yes.
Right. John's got to leave us. So let me just come to you firstly to ask about this. We're going to talk about Como now, which are a team in Serie A, of course. Their beautiful stadium. It sits almost on the waters of Lake Como.
Right, Steve.
Do you know
Is that
what?
you?
That was me.
That's a right, Joe Devine.
It's because when you read Steve as often as I do,
Yeah.
you can start to channel Steve.
It's
you know?
Portuguese. You're fluent now.
I'm fluent in Portuguese. Como 1907, as they're called, currently sit 7th in Serie A and have risen from Serie D, the 4th tier of Italian football, to Serie A, which is this again. That's not necessary there in the sentence. In 6 years, right, Steve? Listen, this team, they're pretty exciting because they're managed by Cesc Fabregas, and because it's always exciting when a team has kind of soared up through the leagues. They have a number of quite cool players as well, some of whom are very likely valued at higher than the club paid for them. So, John, let me ask you first. You just did the Athletics Week in Football show last Saturday. Reuben, you produced that as well. You guys talked about Cesc Fabregas as potentially one of the more exciting new European managers. Tell me why this is.
Well, I mean, first of all, I would recommend that you go and watch our show. It was a very good show, and Alex Barker actually did a long section on Cesc Fabregas.
If I didn't watch it though, what's 3 things that I need to know?
Not 3 things.
No, you don't have to do it in 3, but just tell me.
I guess the word or the phrase that I use a lot at the moment is tactical flexibility, and I think that's one of the 3 things.
And diversity.
Tactical diversity that Fabregas has. So he's been at Como for a little while. He wants to play your sort of not standard Pep Guardiola football, but he is a high possession coach, and he came in at Como, and I think didn't, when they initially came up from Serie B, didn't have the players to maybe play the football that he wanted,
right.
And so he essentially tweaked the approach that he had until he was able to bring in the players that he needed, all of which gives the impression that he's in that vein of managers now in the modern game, where they have the ability to sort of solve problems with tactical fixes. So, which I think aligns him with someone like Mikel Arteta, which
right.
Is interesting because everyone's saying, is he the next Arsenal coach? Should that ever happen?
Right.
But yeah, that's the sort of thing you need to have in your head when you're thinking about Cesc Fabregas. Like within that school of maybe a more positional game, although he has been quite critical of, I guess, the more rigid versions of positional play that sort of typified towards the end of the last decade, the way that the modern football is going. So he's trying to find ways of introducing flexibility into his positional approach, which brings the best out of, I think, some players in the team. So Nico Paz is a player who's been talked about a lot in the last few seasons, a really exciting young player, and he's given a lot
from Real Madrid, and who
may well end up back at Real Madrid at some point
with a lovely little buyback clause.
I think so, yeah. But a great example of using a positional system, but allowing the freedom and flexibility within that system for certain creative players. So almost having the structure to allow your creative players to thrive a little bit as well. So very exciting player to watch as well.
Fantastic. Well, get the out of it.
Yeah.
There was a fascinating episode of the Athletic FC podcast last week. Very much worth listening to instead of listening to us butcher various quotes that have come from it. One of the things that the chairman who joined them on that show said was that one of the original intentions behind buying Como was the ownership group who come from Indonesia had some experience with broadcasting an Indonesian youth team playing in England to a huge audience back home. And so I think the hope was that they were going to buy a European team and maybe sign some Indonesian players and then capitalize on huge ratings back home. It was only after they bought Como that they realized that they couldn't sign that many foreign players, I think.
Or any non-EU players outside of the top division, I think.
Right, any non-EU players. Okay, that makes sense.
Another reason you voted leave.
Another reason I voted leave. And so their strategy changed, but they've also been known to describe their intention for Como as to be like the Disney of football. On that podcast, the president described the footballing part of it as like the theme parks that Disney have, with the assumption being that like the online, video series and content and stuff is another part of it. I don't really know that much about their efforts there, but it is evident that they're trying to do something a little bit similar to Wrexham, I would say.
Yeah, and just on the Fabregas note, it seems like a very savvy hire from them. But when John was speaking about his flexibility tactically, it kind of reminded me of what people used to say about Xabi Alonso, in that how he played for Benitez, Mourinho, Guardiola, and Ancelotti.
Yeah.
Well, Fabregas also played for Wenger, Guardiola, Mourinho, Conte. So he's learned from like very different schools of thought to kind of, and the pros and cons of all of them, and become, not a dogmatic coach, but one who kind of understands different approaches. And Alex was speaking on our show on the Athletic FC YouTube channel about his man management style and how that plays into the tactical structure of like kind of creating the freedom for Paz while other players or maybe have to be more disciplined.
Yeah, I was going to say also like we're doing a Tifo video about Cesc Fabregas and his coaching style at the moment. It hasn't released yet, but I was doing the voiceover for it yesterday, and the descriptions of what make him exciting, I think, are fair. But there was one revision I made to the script, which was to change like fresh and new and exciting style to like interesting revisions of things that have come before, which obviously is always the case with football tactics. I think sometimes we can get carried away with talking about these coaches as though they're doing something like completely new that's never happened before. I'm talking with confidence because Jon Mackenzie's left the room.
It's that.
John's not the person I would accuse of doing this, but I do wonder if like sometimes we get carried away. Whereas maybe actually what helps Cesc Fabregas in this is, as you say, he played for many very famous coaches who are great exponents of their styles. He clearly understands football incredibly well, but also he's Cesc Fabregas. Like every player that comes to play for him at Como, they know who he is. They probably watched him play as kids. They have this incredible respect for him. I could imagine that the man management element of it is hugely important.
He's won a World Cup. And
he won a World Cup.
Vincent Kompany and Xabi Alonso have that benefit as well, right? Of being like kind of superstar captain-ish players. And also, obviously, Cesc Fabregas speaks many languages.
Yes.
We had to check. We were checking how many languages he spoke when we were editing the show. And I found that like he speaks English to his team generally. I think has a lot of, like in the Bayern Munich dressing room, for example, that's generally an English-speaking place as well, just because of the diversity of languages spoken in there. Fabregas obviously played at Monaco, so he speaks French.
Yeah.
He speaks Catalan and Spanish, obviously growing up in Barcelona, and English from his time here. And now, I found a video of him giving a great team talk in Italian.
Apparently he's fluent in all of these languages.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It is incredible, yeah.
Interviewed Cesc Fabregas's English teacher once.
Did you?
Yeah, and she, because I asked her kind of which player most impressed you in a way as just sort of instantly getting it, working really hard off it. And she mentioned him because she started teaching him when he came over from Barcelona at 16 or so, and spoke about the pride she felt of watching him speak English, I think, as a pundit at a major tournament recently. And it's, brilliant. But just to...
I definitely turned that article into a video because I remember that exact detail. So cheers.
I wonder what it is about people that help them pick up languages like that so easily. I'm pretty terrible at it, to be honest.
Don't even speak Irish.
Or Welsh.
Well, I know how to pronounce all the Irish names. How about that?
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's not bad, is it? For a true Irishman such as myself. Okay, well, let's come now to, it's a slightly empty room, so we're going to have to work out how to do this. To points are bad. Points are bad.
Can I at least be myself this week?
You can be yourself.
Thanks,
You've been barkered one too many times. However, Steve Hankey, I hear that there's one such Barker just outside. Can we grab him now?
I should go grab Barker.
Can we get ourselves a Barker?
Yes.
Fantastic. Do you know what Points Are Bad is, Jacob?
No.
Okay. This is a game we play at the end of every Tifo podcast where we predict scores for 2 games coming up the next week. And the scores work as follows. Hey, Alex, come take a seat. The scores work as follow, okay? It's not really whether you're right or wrong about the result or the outcome. It's just about the goals. So, for example, if you were to guess that it was 2-1 to Team A versus Team B, but it was actually 2-1 to Team B versus Team A, then all you do is you take... you look, you say, I said 2 goals for Team A, but it was 1 goal, so that's 1 off. And then I said 1 goal for Team B, but it was 2 goals, so that's 1. And then you added 2 points. And you don't want to add any points because points are bad.
Like golf. The lower the score, the better.
It's golf.
Oh, I see, okay.
Oh, yeah, it's golf.
Yeah.
I forgot, I never thought about that before. Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going good, thank you.
Well, today, let me please tell you that I'm so happy because you're here to barker Jon Mackenzie. That's very exciting for me. He hasn't been barkered so far this season as Jon Mackenzie. And so today, it's his turn to get barkered. Now, let me tell you what happened last week, okay? The games that we selected were England-Serbia, which was 2-0 in the end. This is actually the first time I'm seeing what the results of the England
They were
games
both 2-0.
And Albania versus England, also 2-0. Now, there were a couple of perfect predictions this week. One for Kaya, who said 2-0 to England in the Serbia game, and one for JJ, who said 2-0 to Albania. And overall, the ads this week...
Joe, 2-0 to England against Albania.
What did I say?
You said 2-0 to Albania.
Oh, okay.
That's not what he predicted, is it?
Yeah.
No, he predicted 2-0 to England.
Yeah.
So the ads overall, Reuben, unfortunately, you came last this week. You added 5 points.
I used to like Jack Pickbrook.
Amazingly. Do you know what? This is the week where the 1-1 bot has done the worst. Because we just picked England fixtures where obviously they don't concede any goals.
You have a 1-1 bot.
We have a 1-1 bot.
I was going to try and game the system by just going 1-1, but
Joe
you've already
is
got there.
years ahead of you on that.
I did that all of last year and I won the whole thing. I've got a little trophy. So this year we decided to ban 1-1 and now we have the 1-1 bot who picks 1-1 for every game in our stead. The 1-1 bot, unsurprisingly, is leading the pack overall so far. JJ is still in last place with 52. I'm second last on 48. Reuben, you're on 46. Kaya's on 44. John's on 42. It's all very tight in
congested mid-table.
And the 1-1 bot is way out ahead on 35. So this week, Reuben, you get to pick the fixtures. What would you like us to predict for?
The aforementioned upcoming game between Newcastle United and Manchester City.
Ooh.
That'll be tasty.
That
St
is
James's
exciting.
Park.
Yes.
And on Sunday, I believe, is the North London Derby.
Oh, yeah, it is. It's the NLD. How exciting.
My favourite derby in the Premier League.
Is
personally.
it?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I just feel like it always serves up the best games.
Wow. Okay.
They're often quite crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, Reuben, let's start with you then. We'll go with with Newcastle versus Manchester City first.
1-2, please.
You also now cannot take 1-2, for example. So once the score has happened.
So that's Newcastle United 1, Manchester City 2.
Who's Jacob playing for? Jacob's playing in place of Kaya or JJ?
Kaya or JJ, either way.
Let's have Jacob play in place of JJ.
As he's in that chair.
Because he's last also. Because he did best this week.
Yes.
And he's in the JJ chair.
Yeah.
Higher strategy to get him back in.
Yeah, exactly. And he needs some help. Okay, so we'll stay with you now.
Yeah.
And we'll next go to
North London.
Yeah, North London Derby.
Who's
first? Arsenal, right? Steve, you turned your microphone off as you were speaking there, pal.
Sorry. It's at the Emirates.
It's at the Emirates.
The red part of
And
North
Arsenal
London.
don't really concede at home, do they? Let's go Arsenal 2, Spurs 0.
Okay. All right, fine. It's me to pick next. So Newcastle versus Man City. My instinct is to pick 1-1. Obviously, I can't because of the 1-1 bot. I'm going to say, I think that might be 0-2, 2-0 Man City. Yeah. And then for Arsenal, Tottenham, I think that's 1-0 Arsenal. Yeah. Okay, next up is John, who's getting Barker this week.
Oh, hello.
Hello, Barker. What would you like to pick for
Newcastle City.
Newcastle City?
Well, may I just say that I did give John the chance out there to, if he wanted anything to say. I was thinking if he said something nice, maybe I could have been nice. But he said, and I quote, "I hate you and all of your family." So with that in mind, I'm going to try very hard, as I did with JJ. Newcastle City first. Well, we know John's a massive Manchester City fan, so I don't think he'd let anything other than 7-0 Manchester City.
I think that's true. Yeah, that's well and truly that's a well and true Barkering right there. Okay, and then NLD, the North London Derby, is always a high-scoring affair, isn't it, Alex Barker?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And do you know what? John has been saying all season how much he's rated Thomas Frank's Tottenham,
That's true.
How good they've been going forward.
Big time,
So
he
it's
thinks
got
that,
to be at least 4 goals to Tottenham.
Yeah.
Now, the question is Arsenal.
Right.
Now, this is a team he's predicted to win the Premier League. So we can't have Arsenal losing this game. And they can't be drawing either.
No.
So I think it's going to have to be 5-4 Arsenal.
Well, they're going to get a lot of corners in that game, clearly, aren't they? Okay, well, that's exciting.
Jesus.
Thanks, Alex Barker. Okay, next up is Kaya, who isn't here. So, Steve, do you want to pick for Kaya?
I shall. Now, based on, ironically, what John has said on this podcast quite a few times, I think this will be one of those games where Manchester City get undone, actually. So I genuinely think that it's going to be Newcastle 2, Manchester City 1.
Wow. Okay. Strong from the substitute teacher.
We just spent 20 minutes talking about their issues. I know they're at home.
They're
but-
strong, right? So that's
yeah.
that. And what Jacob was saying about, that they'll be up for this, etc.
Yeah.
So 2-1, I think, to Newcastle.
What about the NLD, baby?
Now, we've had 1-0 to Arsenal. We've had 5-4
Yeah.
to Arsenal.
You
And
can't
we've
pick
had
that one.
2-0 to
Results that
Arsenal.
have happened before, to be fair.
I'm going to go 2-1 to Arsenal.
Yep, fair enough. Okay, and Jacob, it's over to you to play as JJ, Newcastle versus Man City.
So I've got 2 pieces of data in mind for the Newcastle game. One is that Howe has never beaten Pep Guardiola in the league.
Oh,
So that's not great.
No.
But the other one is, I'm sure I worked out once that Newcastle were really good after international breaks.
Right.
We've had a little bit of training time.
Oh,
I'm going to go 2-2.
okay.
I think there's been a few quite fun, high-ish scoring ones.
That would be a fun and exciting game, at least. Okay, the North London Derby, Arsenal v Tottenham.
0-0.
0-0.
And I'm going to recreate 1-0 in the aggregate.
Yeah, and also spiritually, I feel like JJ's here because he picks 0-0 a lot. So,
Yeah.
you've captured that as
Happy
well.
to oblige.
Well done. Okay, great. Well, there we go. Join us next week to find out the scores on Points of Bad. And also, we'll be back on Wednesday or Thursday this week.
Wednesday.
Is it Wednesday?
Yeah.
Yeah, great. We'll be back on Wednesday with some other stuff that's happening. So until then, thanks to Jacob.
Thank you.
Thanks to Barker. Big thanks to Barker. Thanks to Reuben.
Thank you.
And Steve.
Thank you.
Bye.